Mr. Arash Madani, nice to see you on this Tuesday, as always, for Brian Golly, like the big voice said. We've talked about it last week. I don't know where to go on this Oilers team. I've just totally given up betting on these games and doing anything. And the thing that's really like I keep forgetting until it just came up in the last 24 hours. They're doing this without Matthias Ekholm.
Yeah. It's amazing, Barney. Like, how do you win? You win with your top six, and you win with your back end, and maybe their best defenseman, one of the top defensemen in the league. And they've been without him basically for 6 weeks now.
Yep.
Like he came back for a few minutes in one of the games, but he'd missed more than a handful before the playoffs. Comes back for a minute, and then he's out. To continue to be able to do this without that. Like, you think about the Lightning teams, and I'm not comparing the two, but imagine Tampa didn't have Victor Hedman. Yeah. They don't win 2 cups.
No, they don't.
No chance. And now Edmonton is still in the driver's seat without Ekholm. 35 years old, been through the battles, knows what it takes. He's out there at practice. Obviously, something is really wrong. So the fact that they've been able to withstand this without him is amazing.
It's kind of one of those things, right, where you got some money in the till. You got some cushion here. But if the Stars win tonight and he doesn't play, is it a definite into Game 5?
I think the only definite becomes if you lose the next 2 and you're on the brink of elimination. At that point, I think you just have to try. But then the question becomes, how many minutes can he actually give you? How many minutes can he go?
I don't know if I rule anything out with the Oilers.
Right.
Maybe it's like, okay, he got a few shifts in the first period, and by the third period, it looks like he's in top form. Just how they've been doing it with the other guys that have been injured. I'm just not ruling anything out with this team.
Is this like a load management deal too, where you we're so often in hockey, we hear about double shifting guys. You almost limit the shifts you give them. Do you try and keep the minutes in the 15 range just so you can get the best out of him in the third period? I don't know. Obviously, they're not trying to even, get an answer to some of these questions. But I just think that when you're in this situation, when you're the Oilers, this is why your offensive firepower matters so much. Like when you're scoring 5-6 goals a night, Ekholm's almost like in the back of it's an off day story because the game day story is not dictated by that at all. And in large part, it's because of what the guy between the pipes has been doing for you.
Well, if the Oilers win this series and go to the Stanley Cup final, who is your front runner? Oh, you're going on a subway? You taking us on a tour?
Well, I'm outside the subway station, so I'm coming outside, so it's not bothering you.
What? Who would be your Conn Smythe Trophy leader from the Oilers if they win this?
The easiest thing to say is McDavid, right? Has the most points in the entire playoff so far, etc. But to me, without Stuart Skinner, the Oilers are not here in this spot. And I know this sounds insane because Pickard started a bunch of games, but think of what they've put Skinner through mentally and how he's responded in the biggest games in the previous series and then comes out and does this now. Without Stuart Skinner, they're not here, Barney.
I don't know, though, because Calvin Pickard looked like Martin Brodeur / Patrick Waugh at times too. Again, it is just a really weird year, playoffs, where if you're an Oiler fan, you can kind of peacock around right now because you're just getting it done every which way. It's like, oh, McDavid and Draisaitl were quiet last night. Who cares? Hyman, Perry, Kane, Frederick, I don't know, watch Pokey Reddick play a game and steal a win for him.
And I think this is what makes a championship team. Like, there's no straight line to 16 wins. You need to manufacture however you can get to these wins. And like, I was listening to McDavid's availability today, and when Connor's calling Zach Hyman a freight train, I'm saying to myself, wow. Like, it's this is the pretty rich boy from affluent Toronto who's out there throwing his body around, doing whatever it takes. That's what makes a Stanley Cup team, is that anybody, anywhere, anytime has to get it done.
That's what happens though when you move to Northern Alberta. You get a jacked up truck, some white sunglasses, some sort of tattoo. You become tough. You see the moss pit. You see all the fight. Maz and I were talking about this yesterday. You see how people are just fighting each other in Oiler jerseys in the moss pit.
Yeah,
I don't know if you see that anywhere else.
I agree with you there. Yeah. My dad is better than your dad. I promise you that.
Exactly. Yeah. Kate, CFL. Training camps, a lot of news coming up. I got to ask you, have you heard anything what's going on in Toronto with Chad Kelly and his injury?
There has been very little said. Barney, I would not be surprised if Chad Kelly opens the season on the 6-game injured list. And I think that's going to be okay for the Argos. Like, even if you're without him for 6, you get him for 12, you make sure he's healthy, he can practice the last couple of weeks if he's on the 6-game injured. It's a devastating injury he's coming off of with the broken leg. But more than that, what that does, Barney, is it opens up a little bit of cap room for you too, so that down the road, if you need to sign somebody for September and October Labor Day cuts, that gives you a little bit of financial flexibility. So it's not just that you'd be without Chad, you're removing a third of his salary off the salary cap, which gives you a little bit of wiggle room. And how can you not have confidence in Nick Arbuckle based on what he did last year?
I was just going to say that. Watch him make even more of a name for himself. Now that there's no pressure on him.
There is zero pressure on Nick Arbuckle. Like, it's house money. And I know coming into camp they said it was him and Cameron Dukes have a competition for the backup role. Give me a break. Look, this is. I also believe this. Like, I think there's something to be said for load management in football. It is a violent collision sport. If you can sit your guys for a week or two here, keep them fresh, that's not the worst thing. Chad Kelly doesn't want to do that. Most players don't want to do that. But I go back 5-6 years when the Bombers won their first one, right before the pandemic. Andrew Harris, remember, that was the year that he had the doping positive test, and he had to sit out a game or two. That body getting a break and not getting hit 30 times a game did them just so much good come November. I think this is going to be just fine for the Argos.
Remember last year when I said, and this was NFL, and I said, if only Baltimore could figure out the load management thing with Henry and their quarterback, Lamar Jackson. I'm like, come January, I don't know. Maybe we're missing the boat. Maybe we should be NFL or CFL managers. I don't know. Maybe it's crazy.
You know what, Barney? I think we're onto something here. You can be the GM of the Ravens. I'll be the GM of the Vikings, and we'll meet in the Super Bowl.
Well,
you can buy
the Vikings. You can buy the Super Bowl. Now that just seems a little bit far fetched, Arash. We had something until you said the Vikings in the Super Bowl.
It was great to see Kirk Cousins not show up to Falcons mini camp today. We're really missing you over there in Atlanta, Kirk. You know.
Hey, in Edmonton, I don't know what you got out of there, but we've kind of thought that they're going to hand the keys to Trey Ford. He's going to roll. How patient is the organization and the fan base is the question I have with Trey Ford.
Look, you go and give Trey Ford the money. You give him the keys. You say Trey Ford's our guy. And then what do you do in the offseason? You trade McLeod Bethel-Thompson away to Montreal. Basically, what you're done is you've taken away the guy who's kind of sniffing down his back. You bring Cody Fajardo in. I get it. He's got a Grey Cup on his resume, but Cody Fajardo is not going to be your solution either. I think that Trey Ford is going to get all the patience in the world, no matter what happens. If he struggles early, they'll continue to ride him. If he has success early, they'll continue to develop him. They have made the decision to go with Ford as the face of the franchise. And when you do that, Barney, you're not going to make a real move until late into August. It's a brand new GM. It's a brand new owner. It's a brand new president. They're going to roll Trey Ford. That's my take on the situation.
I saw on social media as well, though, you got some other news out of Edmonton.
Well, I think this is one of the coolest things. So, you think about what the CFL is, Barney? Over the years, there are people that are like lifers. Dwayne Mandrusiak was the equipment manager of the Double E for 49 years before he was unceremoniously dispatched. And what did they do yesterday? Dwayne Mandrusiak, who is invited personally by Warren Moon to Canton, Ohio, to be there the day he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Dwayne Mandrusiak was rehired by Edmonton yesterday to have his 50th year. He's going to be a team historian. He's going to be a team ambassador. Think of all the players, coaches, staff, families Dwayne has touched in half a century being connected to that football team. Those are the things you do to repair wounds in an organization, wounds in a community, wounds in an organization. I applaud Edmonton for doing that. That's the kind of stuff that makes the CFL the CFL.
That is a nice touch by the Edmonton Elks organization. But yet they have people fighting in the mosh pit. I just can't figure out that city. We talk about a lot about pro sports teams on the show. You have a Canadian achievement that may not be beat, and it's a milestone that just happened over the weekend.
Barney, this is something you and I will never be accused of doing, okay? The Ottawa Marathon went this past weekend in our nation's capital. It was the 51st running of the Ottawa Marathon. Guys, let's run these photos. There is a gentleman who in 1975 ran his first one and has run every single one since.
Oh, mama.
Congrats to John Watson. 51 straight marathons run. And I get we talk about sports and everything like that. 42.2 kilometers in the heat, in the rain, in the cold.
Can't do it.
To do that, I mean, it's just incredible.
Can't do it. I got to 10K once, that COVID year, and I was jogging lots. I got to 10K, and I felt like Brian Prefontaine or whatever his name was. But
yeah, sure.
42?
I drove 10 kilometers and I broke a sweat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Biking. If you told me you could hop on a bike and go 42 kilometers at this part of my life, I don't think I could.
I
Downhill, maybe.
I don't know, man. Like, right. And like, it's not just that you do it, it's that you're willing to put in the training and all that goes into it, like the commitment to like get to the starting line. Forget the finish line. Just to be like, you know what? I'm going to put myself in a position to make sure that I can do this. I just think that stuff's awesome.
I was complaining about coaching hockey on the weekend and how sore my feet were. And this guy is running 42 kilometers every year.
I thought your elbows and biceps might be a little sore.
Man, do I feel awful right now. I can't even look at myself in the mirror. Later. Okay, we got 30 seconds here quick. I wanted to get one more take. How sad is it for Alexander Ovechkin? He'll never be able to probably play in the Olympics again.
Yeah, it's the reality of the world we now live in. And I want to pivot to one other thing, Barney. What is Canada's excuse now if they don't win gold next February?
Hey, watch out for those Americans.
Oh,
World
sure.
champs.
Watch out for everybody. Watch out for Denmark.
Switzerland, Denmark,
Sure.
Latvia.
Yeah.
Hey, France is in the mixer now. The French,
Yeah.
they'll give us a run. They smoke upside down and walk around in black socks. They're scary.
Hey, listen, man. Listen, the Americans are getting a real taste on the basketball side. This isn't their domain anymore. We're seeing it on the hockey side too. So, yeah, brutal for Ovechkin, but it's going to be a wide open tournament.
You only have 3 minutes left before your transfer expires, so I'll let you get to the subway, and then we'll talk on Thursday.
You're the man. Will be much better conditions on Thursday, I promise.
Awesome. Coast to coast with Arash Madani.